Hey, what's up everyone? Ryan here, and today I'm going to help you all improve your swing in PGA Tour 2K25. This is episode 3 of my Ultimate Beginner's Guide series for PGA Tour 2K25, and today's specifically going to be focusing on the new EvoSwing, and I'm going to give you a lot of tips on how to improve on it. It is very difficult, but with practice and these tips, I think you are going to greatly improve your swing. And also in today's video, I'm going to go over the basics of shot shaping, draw fade, loft, deloft, and also changing the angle of attack. That will be in today's episode. And then after the overview of shot shaping, I'm going to get on out to the course at Oakmont and we're going to play a hole, and I'm going to show you how I would use shot shaping at a firm and fast course like Oakmont. And then also I'll talk a little bit about elevation and other tips when I play that full tutorial hole. Now, if you missed the first 2 episodes in this series, make sure you check the full playlist in the description. Episode 2 was on club progression. Episode 1 was a full overview on my player progression, attributes, skills, and all of that. And then the final episode in this initial 4-part series is going to be a full putting tutorial. So stay tuned for that one. If you all get some enjoyment, drop a like, subscribe for more. Hope you all enjoy. We're on the range here, and the range, they've actually added pins this year on the different greens, which is nice. So let's just talk about the basics of the EvoSwing here just real quick. But this is just for beginners or players that are playing on pro, want to play ranked matchmaking. If you had the swing bias turned off, this would show up straight at the bottom right. You can see I'm a level 65 player to show the difficulty of it and give you some tips that helped me on the new EvoSwing. I went from being terrible to being able to hit the ball pretty good. Okay, so before I dive into all the EvoSwing tips to help you improve, it's important to understand the 4 primary components of the swing in 2K25 and what each of them does to the golf ball. So, the first component of the swing, as you can see on the webcam right here, I described this already in episode 1 of this series, but if you missed that one, swing path is the first part of the swing. Analog stick moving back, that final analog stick position before you transition from backswing to downswing, that is swing path. So, you can see the swing path forgiveness zone over on the right side of the screen. So, that bottom part of the shot feedback or shot meter there to the right, that gray region is the forgiveness zone. The rectangular white region in the center, that is the sweet spot. That is the perfect area. So essentially, you're going to try to pull the thumbstick back to hit that central region, or as close to the center as possible. So of course, if you hit that sweet spot, it's going to go exactly where you wanted it to. But if you pull down and to the left of that center sweet spot, even if you're in the gray region, what that's going to do is push the golf ball to the right initially. And then if you miss it to the opposite side, you miss it to the right, that is going to pull the golf ball. So the second part of the swing is connected to the first part, that is transition. So when you set your swing path, you're looking at, you see the shot feedback meter to the right. You see that circle, that blue circle growing? That's the new power meter or shot meter. In PGA 2K23, it followed the club path on the backswing. That's no longer the case. So now it's on the shot feedback meter to the right. You see that gray outer circle? That is what you're trying to hit. So the controller, if you have vibration turned on, is going to vibrate when you're supposed to swing forward. So when you swing forward, that will set the transition of the shot, which will dictate the power that you put on the shot. It is very sensitive in this game. Just a little bit of an underswing can make a big impact on your shot. Okay, so the third part of the swing is rhythm. Rhythm is your downswing tempo. So when you transition from backswing to downswing, that is your rhythm. So what rhythm does in 2K25 is way different than 2K23. It no longer dictates the open or close club face. It now adds a distance multiplier to the shot. So I'm just going to focus on rhythm here and try to hit a terrible swing, but just try to hit it slow. So if I move the thumbstick back and barely move it forward, it's hard for me to do because I'm so instinctive not to do it. You can see that's a slow. Minus 0.03 seconds, it took off 5% on the shot. Now, on the flip side of that, if I was to do a very fast flick of the thumb, that would be an overswing. So 0.02 seconds plus 2.86 power on the shot. It's a distance multiplier. Now, the final analog stick position, when the club contacts the ball, when it's at its very forward point here, that is your contact. And what contact does, that is your open or closed club face. If you miss the sweet spot to the left, it's gonna draw the ball. If you miss your sweet spot to the right, it's gonna fade the ball. Now, if you miss that forgiveness zone, you miss that gray region on that shot feedback meter, that's going to lead to a mega hook if you miss it to the left. And if you miss it to the right outside of the gray region, that forgiveness zone, that is going to mega slice the ball. So that's just an understanding of the 4 primary components of the swing. It's very important when you're learning this game to pay attention to the vibration cues, and I'll get into that here in a few minutes. Now, it's important to point out, this is a level 165 character for demonstration from my Ultimate Beginner's Guide. As you level up, your contact stat, your swing path stat, your transition stat, and your rhythm stat. So what that is going to end up doing, you see those regions on the right side of the screen for transition, the circle ring around the shot meter, that's how you set your power, the swing path at the bottom, and the contact at the top. Those regions will get wider and easier to hit, and also when you miss, it will be more forgiving when you have a higher stat of each of the 4 attributes. And the great part about the new feedback, every time after you hit a shot, you're going to get all the information on the right side of the screen there. It's going to tell you exactly what each miss did to the ball. So I love having actual numbers. It's going to show how many degrees were you off on the swing path, how many degrees were you off on the contact, how fast was your rhythm, how slow was your rhythm. And one thing that's important to point out, I mentioned this in episode 1 of this series, but I'm going to say it again. So rhythm in this game is going to change based on how fast you pull the analog stick. So it is a 1 to 3 speed. So whatever your backswing is, you want to be about 3 times faster on the rhythm. So it's going to change every shot. You can do it yourself. It's just a nice and easy swing. I'll talk about that later. But when you're on the course, if you hit the swing stick, whatever stick you use to swing in, you can go to a practice swing. And it is in this practice swing where I would spend a couple of shots every time you play around early in this game to get a feel for it. So when you're on pro difficulty or below, you're going to have 2 different vibration inputs if you have vibration turned on. And I highly recommend you have vibration turned on when you learn this game. So here's the thing. When you're in practice swing, and if I went straight down and straight up, like that, you notice that, wow, I'm going to be off. Don't complicate the new EvoSwing. I complicated it for 50 hours in the gameplay demo. I've complicated it for probably the first 20 hours in 2K25. Don't complicate it. Let me simplify it for you. You see that diagonal line. All that matters is the end point on the backswing and the end point on the downswing. That's swing path and contact. What you do in between doesn't matter. Now, it does matter, because if you start pulling it back and wiggling it around, well, good luck. So don't start wiggling the stick around a little bit to try to hit it perfect. That's not going to work. But what you can do is you can tilt your controller. So I'm a fade preference player. And many people commented this on my channel over the years, especially where I had a diagonal swing plan on the PS5 controller by default. And then in the demo, I saw a lot of comments like, Ryan, tilt the controller. And I'm like, okay. So I did it for like the first 50 hours. But here we are. So if you see the controller here, that's straight. If I angle the controller to the right and then just try to do a straight swing plane, that is going to allow me to do a straight swing and still hit the EvoSwing. So I can't do it up like this. So I'm going to put the controller back down in my lap, and I'm going to tilt the controller slightly. And when you start to pull back the swing, what you're going to feel for is vibration. If the controller vibrates right away, your swing path is off. That is what the controller is telling you. It's telling you that you are not in the right swing path. Use that information. So slightly pull back. It's vibrating. I'm off. It's vibrating. It's off. It's not vibrating at the beginning. Okay, I'm in the perfect swing path. That's why you're going to see a lot of players do that, right? And that's all you're doing in the swing. You're filling for that initial vibration to set your swing path. You tilt the controller, at least I do. That's the only way I can do it, to try to get the right position. You can see the position my thumb is in. And then outside practice swing, every time before you swing, fill for that vibration. Now, I can't swing with the club up like this. I'm never going to hit a good shot like that. I have to hold my controller in my lap, sit up nice and tall. It's the only way I can do it. Tilt the controller slightly till I have that angle. And then I fill for the vibration. And then I hit the send button. And as you can see, I was a little off at the beginning, a slight push. It's so hard to get perfect on this game. But I pushed at the bottom and closed club face at the top. Those are going to cancel each other out. So when you miss, you hope that you miss in the same direction on the shot feedback there. So the swing path feedback on the right is either going to show as a push or pull. If you're a right-handed golfer and you miss to the left, it's going to lead to a push. That's on swing path. On contact, if you miss to the left, it's a closed club face. The ball is going to hook and it's going to take off distance on the shot. Now, if you miss to the right at the bottom, the swing path, it's going to lead to a pull on the shot as a right-handed golfer. If you miss to the right at the contact spot, that's like an open club face. So then the ball's going to fade or slice to the right, and it's going to take off distance depending on how many degrees it's open or closed. And you're going to get all that information on screen. It's going to show, did you set the perfect power? How is your swing path? What happened because of that swing path? What happened because of the open or closed club face, right? What happened because of the rhythm? And now for rhythm, I didn't really mention that. I did earlier. It's a 1-to-3 ratio, but you don't have to worry about rhythm too much, honestly. Like you can see there, I'm 0.2 seconds fast and the power was a little bit off. Now my swing path was a little bit off. The controller was vibrating and I swung anyways. If the controller is vibrating when you're moving back the thumbstick initially, reset, because you know you're in the wrong swing path, at least initially. But I've come a long way. This is a 65 overall player. If you go watch my first look gameplay and watch my career mode episodes, you're going to be like, what in the world happened? Well, it's just learning the fact of tilting the controller. It changed my game. And filling for that correction and then just hitting the send button. It is a game changer for me. Now keep in mind, that's for a fade preference. I am not as good at a draw preference doing the same thing. You could tilt your controller the opposite way for a draw. I just can't do it. I'm not very good at it. So that is how I learned the EvoSwing. And I wanted to share that with you on this video because I think that can be one of the most frustrating and intimidating mechanics in the game. And I just decided to not overcomplicate it. Let's just hit the same swing I've always hit, but let's tilt the controller a little bit. Now, I'm not saying it's easy. You're still fighting against the controller's resistance to turn back to central. That is the big problem with the diagonal swing. You're still fighting the controller's resistance. It always wants to get back to the center line, right? Which can help you if you angle the controller. That has been a game changer for me. Are you still going to hit every shot perfect? No. Are you still going to hook and slice? Yes. Watch my gameplay videos on the channel. You're going to see me miss a lot, but I've gotten a lot better, and I wanted to share those tips with you all because it has been an absolute game changer for my golf game. I mean, that tip right there has took me from one of the worst EvoSwing players to now actually being able to understand how to hit it. Mess around with the controller. Mess around with the different swing bias. Find the swing for you. I love the default Xbox controller. I absolutely love it. It was at a big disadvantage in 2K23 due to tempo inconsistencies. That is no longer the case. This controller is amazing. It is fantastic. And it is my preferred controller here. I will say I do have an Xbox Series Elite 2 controller as well for the Xbox. Some people love this controller in the demo. I've used it a couple times and I like it, but I just prefer this one. I'm just better at that. I love the Xbox Series the Series Elite 2 controller for every other game because of the paddles it has. But for golf, I'm just better at the default Xbox Series controller. I don't know why. I guess it's what I'm used to. This controller thumbsticks, they're just a little stiff. I mean, not stiff. They're just a little loose. And I think you can tighten them. I guess I need to understand how to tighten the thumbsticks here. But you can tighten these thumbsticks. I don't know how to do it. That probably would help. They just feel too loose to me compared to the default Xbox. So yeah. That's EvoSwing tips to help you all. Keep working at it. I am telling you all, you can get it. This is a 65 overall player. You all saw my swing here in these examples compared to how it used to be in the first look demos. And you'll see it on the future career mode episodes when I actually changed the swing bias, fade, and actually tilt the controller. It changed the entire game for me. So try it. It may not work for you. If you were not good with the straight swing plane in 2K23, you're not going to magically be better. Another tip I have, if you have a diagonal swing plane in 2K23 or other golf games by default, just hit your normal swing and change the bias depending on what you want. Now, as you can see, another thing I want to get into here is shot shaping. If you hold L1 or LB on the controller, I don't know what it is in mouse and keyboard because I do not play mouse and keyboard. If you move the left stick, that's going to allow you to fade the ball. The higher shaping stat, the more you can fade. This is default Technician 65 overall. Now, when I move to the opposite direction, I can hit a little bit of a draw, but since my player is a fade swing bias, that means that I can hit more of a fade and less of a draw. But as you increase shaping, you can draw it more. When I move the left stick down, that's going to loft the ball more. Loft is going to generate more spin. And you can see that on the ball graphic at the right side of the screen there. You see how when it's up at the top, that's Deloft. The shot's going to go lower. You're going to have more roll and less backspin. When you move it down, watch the green arrows. Those green arrows increase. And when you have a higher shaping and higher power, which directly impacts spin, that's going to change colors. Now that's the left stick. That's your draw and fade, loft, and deloft. Now, what about the right stick? Right stick is your attacking angle. So what attacking angle is, so it's basically simulating hitting a shot steep or hitting a shot shallow. And the easiest way to think about this, when you move the right stick down, that is hitting the ball at a steeper attacking angle, which is going to add more spin to the shot. As you can see, if I fully change to a steep attacking angle, it's going to lead to a lot of spin on the shot. Now, you can use that to combine with the left stick to generate even more spin. As you can see now, with max left stick down or right stick down, you see a lot of spin. But what else do you notice? Well, look at the forgiveness zones for 65 overall player with a pretty low sculpting stat. Look what happens to that penalty zone that's already small. When I lower it more, it gets a lot harder to hit and way less forgiving. Now you wanna try to hit the sweet spot, the white spot in the right central area there, or the gray region. When you're out, even when you're in the gray, the ball is not going to go on target. It's going to miss to the left and right. Harder difficulty, bigger the misses. When you're outside that gray region, it's going to send that ball in the direction you don't want it to. But there's a cost to shot shaping, and that's that penalty. Now, that's hitting the ball steeper, a steeper attacking angle. So now what if you hit it more shallow? So that's the right stick up. So when you hit the ball more shallow, it depends on the club you're using. But with the driver, it's going to decrease the carry distance. But what it's basically doing is you're going to get less spin on the shot. You're going to get more roll. So hitting a driver shot shallow is actually a really good thing. You probably don't want to max out the shallow shot, but just kind of move that right stick up a little bit on the drive if you want more roll. When it really comes in handy is when you change to an iron shot into a green, right? This is when it comes in extremely handy because with a steeper attacking angle, it's going to take off distance to the shot, as you can see with an 8-iron wedge and the different irons, but it's also going to add more backspin. But say you don't want a lot of backspin on a shot. Say you're hitting into an upslope. Let's see if we can find an upslope here on this practice facility. So say you want the ball to land short here and roll up. So that is when you would use the shallow attacking angle because you don't want as much spin. So you would move the right stick up to hit the ball more shallow. Typically, it's going to add distance to the shot. With the hybrid, it's not. But if I go to an iron here, in this scenario, like right here for the 7-iron, if I hit the ball more shallow, right stick, it's going to add distance, and it's going to take off more spin on the shot and add a little more roll. That is very useful, because on fast greens, especially when you're hitting into an upslope, you don't want the ball to grab and spin back 30 feet. So hitting it shallow is actually very useful, something that I need to utilize a little bit more. You could do both, mess around with this. You could combine loft and backspin, change to a steeper attacking angle with loft. You can do a more shallow attacking angle, right stick up, combined with the delofted shot. And it's just going to increase the row when you move them up, decrease the row when you move them back, and increase the backspin you're going to get. So that's just a real quick introduction to shot shaping. You can adjust the side spin, draw and fade. You can adjust the loft to add more spin as well and loft it over things. And you can deloft it as well. Now, what's important to point out, as you increase your sculpting, this is going to have a much bigger impact. So that's why a higher sculpting stat, I said to focus on it early, because you're going to be able to generate more spin and you're going to have more freedom with draw and fade and shot shaping in general. But I hope this little introductory was helpful for shot shaping and the EvoSwing. Okay, so I didn't want to close out this episode without putting shot shaping and the EvoSwing in action. So I'm still playing with the level 65 character because you all are new players. A lot of you all are. You might not be, but I want it to be showed on the new player level because it's harder, obviously, at the beginning. It gets easier as you go, but I don't want to play as a maxed out character or leveled up character right now because it wouldn't really get the point across, right? It's a beginner's guide. So here we go. Basically on this shot, the wind is blowing to our left, 7 miles per hour. I have firm and fast conditions turned on here at Oakmont. So basically just hitting the nice fade into the wind. So that's a great part of using shot shaping is you can use it to hit right into the wind to decrease the wind's effect. Okay, so I'm going to feel for make sure I don't have the vibration on the swing path, get a rhythm, and then send the shot. You know, not a great swing here. The good news is I missed both on the same side. Like I mentioned there at the driving range when I was talking about the EvoSwing, if you miss, hope you miss in the same direction because they're going to cancel each other out. Not fully cancel each other out, but as you saw there, that shot still went straight. So here we are. I got kind of lucky on that shot. This is a great example of when you need to add loft and when you need to add spin to the shot. So I do need to give a little discussion on elevation. I'll talk about this more later. I talk about it in most of my gameplay videos, but basically, when you see the information on the HUD in the bottom right, or you have the information show up on the pin, how many yards the pin is away, how many feet it's uphill or downhill relative to your position as the golfer. So if it's uphill, you need to add distance to your shot to compensate. If it's downhill, you got to take off distance to the shot. So what's the math? It's the same math from PGA 2K23, 2K21. You divide the elevation number by 3. So 21 in this case divided by 3 is 7. That means that this pin, instead of playing a 176, I know we're aiming at 175, but the pin is 176. So this pin, instead of playing 176, is playing 183. Now, the way that I set up shots, I choose the landing spot first and then adjust for elevation after that. Now, I want to land this short since you can see those grid lines moving to the top of the screen there. That means we're hitting into a downslope. So that is going to be a very fast green here at Oakmont. We're at fast and firm conditions. So this is a great starting point. I need to add about 7 yards here because of the uphill elevation, around 7. So 172. Now what I'm going to do, I know it's Oakmont. Now I'm going to add a steeper attacking angle. So right stick down to generate more spin and change the loft to touch. I don't want to get too carried away because we are a 65 overall level 1 character. We're probably not going to hit it very close. So now what I'm going to do, I'm going to move over to the right because we're going to be fading this ball into that 8 miles per hour wind. The wind is going to pull the ball to the left and add a little bit of distance to the shot because it's at our back slightly. So I'm just going to talk through these things as well because I can't really set up the shot without talking about them. So now I have the shot set up, and next thing to do is swing the club and send it. Struck that almost perfect. We'll see if I have enough spin. I don't know if we do at 65 overall. Yeah, that'll do. The answer is we didn't have enough spin, but the answer is we almost hold it out. So, well, that is shot shaping in action, everybody. Was I expecting that? No. Am I happy it happened? Yes. So, now we're sitting here with the birdie putt here. This is not a full hole tutorial here at the end. It's not what it's supposed to be, but this will set us up for the putting tutorial next. So, this concludes my shot shaping episode 3 of my Ultimate Beginner's Guide series for PGA Tour 2K25. We covered the EvoSwing, shot shaping. Now, next episode, episode 4, you will see how to putt. You will learn a lot of stuff about different green speeds, the game's default distance marker. Is it right or is it wrong? And I'm going to show multiple examples using three different systems you can adopt for putting, and also, of course, showing multiple examples. And at the end of it, you'll get a lot of information about how to play on fast green speeds like Oakmont. So you can see we're on 146 green speeds, pretty quick. But if this was very fast, it would be 188. So in that video, you're going to see an example of Oakmont on max green conditions. You won't want to miss it. Trust me, stay tuned for that. And this has been such a fun Ultimate Beginner's Guide tutorial series. You know, keep in mind, I had this all planned to be one video. Imagine it'd be like a 3-hour movie. So I'm glad I separated it out into different episodes. Hope you all are enjoying this format in this series. Hope you all have learned a lot. And now you know how to play number 3 at Oakmont when you're a level 1 player. Now keep in mind, the swing is really tough. It takes a lot of practice. It takes a whole lot of practice. It simulates golf really well. It is very challenging, and you're going to learn that. You've already learned it if you play the game. Practice, 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 and just have fun, because having fun is what gaming is all about. I will see you in episode 4, the full putting tutorial. If you got some enjoyment, be sure to drop a like before you go. It really helps. Subscribe for more. And we almost had a hole out on number 3 Oakmont in the tutorial video. I would have jumped out of my seat if that would have went in. But I'll see you in the next one. As always, have a fantastic day, everybody.